Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Board of Selectmen's December 1st, can you believe it's December? Meeting. And we don't have much on the agenda this evening, but we are going to start off with our annual tax classification hearing. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Ms. McNish.
This will be very short and sweet. Given the makeup of the town, which is more than 97% single-family or residential properties, the board recommends that we have a single tax rate with no exemptions and no discounts.
That sounds familiar.
Yes.
Do we have the rate set, or is it
No,
too
no,
early?
no, it's too early.
Okay, so tonight...
We're very close.
Okay, so tonight we're just approving the single rate?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we,
As
a single rate, we had tax factor of 1, and then we can submit the stuff for the rate.
Okay, and that's, it's past practice, right?
Yes.
We haven't done anything else.
Our values are all set.
Okay.
All right, so we're all ready to go. It's just a matter of getting the rate of growth.
Questions?
No, reading through this, thank you very much
No?
for my cliff notes.
Yes.
It's nice of you. No, it seems very straightforward.
So
That's
then,
great.
So you need us to vote, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to accept the recommendation of the assessor and the Board of Assessors for a factor of 1 tax rate for the town of Dover for fiscal year 2018? 17.
With no
With
discounts.
With no
No
discounts and no
No exceptions.
exceptions. Thank you.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anything to execute, Karen? Anything to execute?
No, because you have to do that online now.
Okay.
Everything goes in through Gateway,
Okay.
so you have to approve it through there. I actually printed it out, but it's not because I haven't done the
Right.
reading.
Assessments.
Okay.
I mean, I just need one more minute.
So she,
Should I ask the board for authorization to do
Yeah,
that?
that would be good.
Okay, I will do that.
Can I have just a quick question? When do reassessments happen?
We
Is
do
there
it every year,
every year?
yeah, that's what I thought, it's
every year.
continuous.
It's a continuous.
But we recertify every 5 years now.
Is it
just
5 now?
changed. The Municipal Modernization Act
Mhm.
allowed us to go to 5 years. So we're extended 1 year. So we'll be FY19. While they equalize all the cities and towns.
Well, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you. So if I may, Madam Chair, if the board would also authorize me to execute the necessary paperwork that goes along with that vote, whenever that happens.
Okay, so then I make a motion to allow for the town administrator to process the paperwork as needed, or online paperwork.
Yes. A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you, Dave.
Good evening, Mr. Clark. You missed the opening of the meeting. Would you like to know what transpired in your absence?
I'm assuming you followed your agenda.
I
We did.
I did.
She did.
Before I said, I just got back from a lengthy day at the news.
You know, this is the Board of Selectmen.
I'm sorry, this was a private tour of the Howard Gottlieb archive
Whoa.
that several of the family members got. I wasn't going to turn it down.
All right, so we can talk about that some other time. So next on our agenda is to review the fiscal year 18 Selectmen's operating budgets. And I actually reviewed them.
Very good.
And they were quite boring.
That's good. Boring is good when it comes to budgets. Yep.
I reported yesterday to Dave that I went through every page,
And, you know,
not twice, just once.
You know, to me, of note was the fact that because of the change in the capital budget limit for capital items, you know, I noticed that the copier instead of, which would normally go through capital, but other than that, you know, there was nothing else that wasn't new that we hadn't talked about prior to that. So how should we go about this? Should we just go budget by budget and, you know, because I think the last meeting you gave us the highlights.
I did.
Right. And it's really hard, you know, kind of just looking at one silo. So it's much easier. So whenever you guys begin to update the Article 4 spreadsheet, that would be really great if you could share it with us so we can see what everything looks like together.
EBS closes on the 16th, so
Okay.
I would think that we'd be able to have that to you after the holidays.
Because it's, you know, you get a much better sense of where you're at when you're looking at the whole cumulative budget rather than one budget at a time. All right, so I'm gonna have to read all these things. So I guess the first budget we're gonna look at is budget 122?
Yes.
I was on 129, I was doing a fast forward. All right, and that is the selectmen's budget, and I guess what you're looking for me to approve are the salary lines and then the expense lines,
And then the total.
and then the total.
Bottom line for salaries, bottom line for expense, and total.
All right,
Yes.
okay, all right, so here it goes. So, there's a lot of columns here. So I make a motion to approve the selectmen's budget salaries, proposed salaries for fiscal year 2018 of $322,101. Did I get that right, Rick?
Sorry. 3,22,101.
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
that is correct.
Okay. Total expenses of $53,120 for a total budget of $375,221. And that is a 3.6% increase after last year. Did I get that right?
Yes.
All right.
Now, are you moving on that and we
Yeah, so
are
I was
approving
making a
this?
motion.
Okay, and I'm seconding.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
And, you know, again, it's level funded, nothing big jumped out in this budget, so. It's just the selectmen's salaries of the Board of Selectmen's office and supplies. The next budget we're gonna look at is copying and postage, and that is for the entire townhouse and other committees.
And Park
Just
and
about
Rec will
everybody.
come over and use it as
All right,
well.
so
Whoever needs it
It's
comes
called
in.
administrative services, and so currently I should have circled these. So we have, so I'm making a motion to approve total expenditures for postage for fiscal year 2018 of $30,600.
Second.
And that is a 0.66 increase, so it's really flat over prior years. And it looks like the actual is very close, so it's sort of a trend budgeting in this case. All right, the next budget is the town accountant's budget. And just as a reminder, we do have in this budget, in the salary line, we have budgeted some excess salary to reflect a transition period between the retirement of the old accountant and the hiring.
Of the current accountant.
Of the current accountant. And.
The hiring.
And of the.
Right.
Of the, right, thank you.
To close out in fiscal year 18 and help them to get set up in 19.
Right.
Right, so when you look at the salary line, there's a 10.82% increase, but, you know, it's sort of a one-time, non-current, recurring until our newly hired accountant decides to retire. Right. And so I would like to make a motion then to approve $182,723 of salary expense in the town accountant's line, along with total expenses of $36,700 for a total budget of $219,423 for fiscal year 2018, and another item that, from an expense standpoint, another item that increased was including now into this budget $3,500 for the additional services that we needed to incur for the sort of internal control review of
Of
some
student
our
activities
student
funds,
activities.
right, which have been a focus of the
And
state
that
in
in
the last
prior
couple of
years has been a reserve fund transfer and
I think it was a reserve fund transfer 2 years, is that?
For 2 years.
Okay,
Yeah.
so again, you know, there's, because of some non-standard items, this has gone up. So do I have a motion to, I'm getting really long-winded in this.
Second.
All right. So now we're 145, that's the treasurer's. So this had no non-recurring items in this budget per se. So we have for fiscal year 2018, $190,448 of salary expense, which is, 4.29% above the prior year. And we have total expenses of $30,835, and the expenses are flat for a total budget of $221,283. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Oh, aye.
Okay, there's got to be a better way to do this. All right, now for the law budget. We've kept that flat this year. It's really hard to know where we're going to go in this budget line, and we've talked at times about, maybe looking at historic and budgeting much closer to historic and making sure that the reserve fund has sufficient, but I think, this $200,000 that we've been budgeting for the last few years, in some years we have return funds, and in other years it's just been enough. I think 2 years ago we actually were over slightly by $6,000.
And we had to postpone some of our legal work to get to the next fiscal year.
So it's just really hard to predict what legal services we're going to be needing. So I will make a motion to accept $200,000 as the law budget for fiscal year 2018. And that's Department 151. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Data processing in other sections of the world may also be known as IT. So again, this budget, the salary lines are up marginally. So I make a motion to accept the budget as recommended. Of salaries of $58,290, and that's about 2.15% over last year, which is right in line with some of the guidance that we got for personnel costs. Then there are purchase services, which are consulting fees that we use. We also have a backup IT person, and that would be $61,858. And then there's supplies as well, and I didn't read the total expenses. So the total expenses, which include professional fees and supplies, are $84,043. And for a total data processing budget of $141,333. And again, in total, that's approximately 3.54% above the prior year. And the big difference is 8,400 in supplies for this year.
I think it was professional services, wasn't it, Mrs. Pugach?
Professional services increased.
Right, okay, that was it.
Yeah.
Okay.
For example, we're doing an installation of firewalls,
Right.
2 firewalls, highway and townhouse, and that's $4,000 in professional services for assistance. Mr. Clark can do almost anything himself, but in this instance, he felt he needed assistance from retrofit. And there are things that just come up. HVAC controller was an example. The Patriots services for the server migration that came up, assessor's server. So when we need the monies, we've got them built.
It wasn't Patriots tickets.
Unfortunately, no.
The number would be a lot higher if it was Patriots tickets.
That's right.
So I'm making a motion to accept this budget. All in favor?
Second. Aye.
All right, moving right along to budget 171, which is the Conservation Commission Committee. And so there are, the request is for salaries of $34,301. And expenses of $45,695 for total expenses of $79,996. And in total, that's a 2% increase for that budget. And
I second.
all in favor?
Aye.
So for the record, before I read these numbers, I'm making a motion that I'm done. Somebody should second it. So the next budget item is the Board of Appeals. That is salaries of $2,607. Expenses of $1,450 for a total budget of $4,057, and the total increase year over year is 1.6%.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving right along, budget
191.
I think I missed one. Oh, no, I did. All right, 191, which is Whiting Road, and it is just for services of $4,734, and that's what we've asked for each year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Budget 192 is townhouse expenses, and that is also purchase services. You know what I'm doing next time? This is my advice to the next chair, put the totals page on the top. So it's total expenses of $68,856. And of note here, this budget is up 15%, and that is because the capital budgets increase the threshold at which items go to them for approval, and there is the replacement of the townhouse copier for $9,000 that is in this line item, which normally would have been in capital budgets. Do I have a motion for this?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. 192 Carroll Community expenses, and the request is for $105,384. It is flat with last year. It includes the purchase of fuel and electricity. That's primarily what makes it up. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Budget item 190, did I miss one? I was having so much fun.
195.
1,
195.
Ms. Hunter, if we could skip that one, that's
Okay.
town report. Mrs. Weld, the chair just sent an email this evening, and the numbers may be changing.
okay, I'm very happy to skip that one.
Okay, thank you.
Just let me know if there are any more I should skip.
We will.
Now we're at
199.
199, which is building and maintenance. So we have total salaries of $201,296. And we have total expenses of $117,300 for total, did I mess that up? I think I did. So the salaries are 201,296.
The bottom line is incorrect.
Right, okay, so it wasn't me. All right, so we need to fix that budget.
Okay. My apologies.
That's okay. I never noticed that before.
I was just curious, the expenses, are those supplies and how expensive all of the equipment and it seems like a lot of money, but I was just curious.
Under the supplies
Yes.
line item, so custodial supplies and miscellaneous supplies that we
Right.
would need for maintenance. And also this year, there was $2,000 in here for 5 new vacuum cleaners,
Oh.
which is a one-time
I see.
purchase.
I
And
see.
also, an item that normally would have gone to capital budget
The-
for $5,000, that's the repointing of the brick stairwell going downstairs on the west wing of the townhouse.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
The next budget is budget 201, that's the police salaries, the police budget, and salaries are estimated at $1,833,590. Expenses of $119,450 for total expenses of $2,003,040, and that represents an increase of 1.77% for the year.
Second.
Right, all in favor?
Aye.
The building inspector, budget 241, is the next budget that we're going to look at. That has salaries of $108,845 and expenses of $5,420 for total expenditures for fiscal year 2018 of $114,265.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Emergency Management is Department 291, and that has a salaries of $1,003 and expenses of $920 for total expenditures of $1,923.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Department 292 is Dog Control. That has a salary of $23,122. expenses of $6,460 for total expenses of $29,582.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Care of trees. Salaries, $9,434. Total expenses, $102,640 for total expenditures of $112,079. And this budget went up by 14.65%. And there were items added for new responsibilities for the cemetery, for the care of trees, and also an increase in the cost of the 5-year plan.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Tree committee, $295. Expenses of $2,500. Do I have the motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Departments, $299. Simone, I told you I was going to need more than 5 minutes. So this is for the Protective Agency building, and it's, I think we may have a little problem on this one too. Maybe not. So it's a,
Ms. Hunter, at the bottom of the 3 police budgets, there's a grand total between animal
that
control,
includes the
police,
salaries,
and
right,
protected
okay.
agencies building. So really, you don't want to look at the grand total, you just want to look at the total department 299.
so
Which is-
96,175.
That's correct.
All right.
Yeah.
I thought it might include police salaries. It's a little large.
It is misleading, that's just the way this is formatted, unfortunately.
All right. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Okay. Budget number 411. I need 911 here now. Total salaries, $37,448. Expenses of $64,770 for total expenses of $102,218.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The next budget we're going to look at is the Highway Department. And that has total salaries of $486,117, total expenses of $267,148 for total expenses of $753,265.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Snow and ice. Department 423. Salaries, $105,700. Expenses, $314,300. Total, $420,000. I guess last year was a good year in this budget.
It was a good year last year.
And I'll bet the year before,
It was not a good year.
not so good.
Right.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Street lighting. That is Department 424, total expenses $12,489. And it's,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Town garage, salaries. No, it just says expenses. They're in the highway department. Total expenses, $82,415.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Jerry, if you laugh, I'm gonna make you read some of these.
No, I received a communication from the recycling committee.
Okay, all right, we don't need to know. Tarnier and Patching, Department 428, $275,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Department 439, Solid Waste Disposal, salaries, $70,373. Expenses, $333,421. Total expenses, $403,794.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And this is the same one where it had a grand total on there again, so I'm assuming I didn't have to read that.
That's the end of Craig's budgets.
Right.
That's correct.
All right. Water Department, Department 450, 7,000, salary $7,148. Total expenses of $21,500. No. All right, I did this wrong. Salary, $7,148, total expenses, $19,500 for, total expenditures of $21,500.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You're on a roll, Mrs. Hunt.
The next one, we're gonna wait, right? 541?
Yes.
543 is veterans, total salaries, 1,000, total expenses, 1,000, I guess. No, 2,000. Total expenses, 1,000, total 2,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm assuming we don't have the share of the region's budget yet? Okay, so I'm gonna hold off on that. And we don't have Minuteman yet, we should get that probably in February sometime.
February.
And then the next budget is Norfolk Agricultural School, that's budget 604, and that's $6,000 for the year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the Historical Commission, total expenses of $1,250.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The Memorial Day Parade, always a favorite of mine. Total expenses, $3,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the maturing debt principal, it's budget 710, and that's $1,392,900.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then the next budget item is maturing debt principal, and that's $162,250.
Madam Chair, we will be revising that budget when the rollover interest is known
Okay,
this month.
so we shouldn't
Hold
approve
off on
this.
that.
You can hold off,
Okay,
yeah.
all right. Just hold.
7:59.
759. Bank charges, $4,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the retirement expenses, we don't have those yet, we'll get those in February sometime, so that would be our assessment. Workers' comp, that's $95,877.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So group health, we're gonna hold off on this?
I think you can vote that for now, and then when the rates are set, if we need to revisit, we will.
Okay, so this, just for everybody's information, it's including a placeholder for a 15% increase for the healthcare insurance, and that was the number provided to us by West Suburban as a placeholder. And it usually gets trued up February sometime.
Yep.
It's been interesting because the town of Sherborne has Maya for their healthcare insurance, and they're looking at a same increase, same kind of number right now. It's their placeholder. And I could have misheard, but I believe that's what I heard. So I'd like to approve the healthcare budget, or budget 914, for $2,572,170.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then again, that will get adjusted for,
We hope.
yeah, we hope, in February, when we know the actual rates. The Medicare and FICA budget, that is a total budget of $177,981.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And that was Department 916. And I can't say I'm not happy to see this page. 950, other insurances, and that is a total budget of $180,780.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Very nice.
Now your fun starts.
And Madam Chair, I would like to take a moment to thank Mrs. Pugash for an excellent, outstanding job in preparing these budgets once again.
It's easy when nothing much changes, so you're
Great work.
welcome.
Amazing.
Great work.
Well, there
Thank
were
you so
slight
much.
increases.
Finance and budget, is advisory, then have to review everything.
And you know, I would remind viewers that we did go over the highlights of the budgets. And the warrant committee will begin in January, right, Kate? You guys will begin the process of really vetting the
January.
budget. Right, and then okay, so the next item on the agenda, boy, that took a really long time, is the wiring permit increase. So who's going to talk about
I
that?
can talk about that, Madam Chair. I'll do some of the work tonight, at least. So the electrical inspector had approached the building inspector and said, these fees are outdated, they haven't been changed since 2006, and they're much lower than surrounding communities, and they're not sufficient for the amount of time that is now required to do the inspections. So he did a survey at the building inspector's request and identified on the page that you have in front of you what their fees are compared to our fees. And you can see that even with the proposed fees, we're still at the bottom of the chart, but a little bit better off than we are today. So the building inspector and I both recommend that these fees be adjusted according to the recommendation.
So why going to the bottom of the range, you know?
Because we're way below the bottom of the range, so the bottom of the range is better. I think that we're equal to the lowest community, but we're certainly not in the middle or the higher. But this was his request, and based on the survey, data, certainly the data supports it.
Okay. So I guess it's better than where we were, but, you know, based upon, so has it always been that we've been at the lower end of the range?
Since I've been here, we've always been chasing the low end.
I appreciate very much Mr. Malloy's letter, because what he's explaining is that in similar towns, very often it'll take 2 to 3 days to respond to a phone call requesting an inspection. The inspector will go out within a couple, 3 days, whereas in Dover, the effort is made to get out there that very same day. So even though Kevin Malloy is part-time, nonetheless, he's trying to be very responsive to citizens, and I think that that's great.
Right, so, you know, I don't have any issues going with his recommendation.
I don't, nor do I.
Certainly,
It's great value.
right.
It's a great value.
So should we just make a motion to accept the new proposed fees as
I submitted.
submitted? Do I have a second? Is that a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is the Water Study Committee charge, which was a charge or a recommendation that was made by the Board of Selectmen almost a year ago, I guess. Right. And so, Candace, do you want to speak to this?
Well, Mrs. Hunter, you were on the Board of Selectmen at the time, and it was certainly in response to concerns in town about, was our water table dropping, that people were beginning to be concerned, and my golly, in the last year and a half, we've had a very serious drought during the course of the last summer, and more than ever before do I feel that this is an important move to establish the committee and to move forward as far as the charge that you all drew up a year and a half ago was to assemble data, because what we had was almost anecdotal data, but nothing had ever been compiled, and to my understanding, there really was no baseline. So I believe that the selectmen, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what you all were thinking of is that to bring all of the data together and to give us an opportunity to begin to look at sort of the status quo, what is the case in Dover, and give us a better appreciation of where we're going forward and how are things changing as we move forward. So this is something that I would like to propose, and I hope that this is reasonable. Mr. Clark is here and representing the Board of Health. I believe that, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have some interest, some willingness to head the committee
Or head the charge?
or head the charge.
I don't think it will be a charge forward, it's going to be a long process.
Well, it's going to be a start.
Well, we've already started. The Board of Health understands that in terms of those elements of water usage and water sourcing that are under the control of some entity within the town, whichever one we talk about, it's really only the Board of Health that has any authority, because the 28 or 29% of the homes that are supplied by either Colonial or Old Farm under Whitewater, or Springdale Farms Water Trust, or Meadowbrook buying water from Natick, or Glen, the Yorkshire area buying water from Natick. You start to get a sense of the complexity here. We have no legal authority, although we are attempting to, through the State Representative's Office, at least attempt to gain information, which has not been forthcoming for years. You mentioned the drought. I point out that for the month of October, we had what appeared to be normal or even somewhat over normal rainfall. Today's report says that for the month of November, we had approximately normal, and the result is we're still 10.2 inches behind for the year, and the last year we were even more. I'm not sure what you're doing in terms of the water charge from the one that was previously issued, but just to explain what we think needs to be done beyond more than just collecting data as from a baseline standpoint. We've established already a fairly comprehensive set of documentary evidence as to what historically has been going on in the town in terms of water. We have concerns about some of those regulated small companies, they're called companies even though you and I may not think of them as companies. Old Farms specifically, Springdale Farms as an example. We have concerns because each of them have been problematic. And 2 years ago, the Board of Health, when there was an issue that went before the Department of Public Utilities regarding Old Farm, the Board of Health, since it had no authority, because it was a regulated company, nevertheless did make a statement to the customers of Old Farm in regard to what would happen if a customer dropped out, which would bring them below the 15, which would now make them unregulated. What would happen if they couldn't resolve the perchlorate problem that they were then having? And it's an issue because some of those who have been around over a while may remember when the early Board of Selectmen vote to authorize the town of Natick to draw water from the Dover side of the Charles River Aquifer in Old Bank. This was it was a 4-town effort, but ultimately only 2 towns, Natick and Dover, were involved. At that point in time, there was a proposed opportunity to integrate that water source into the town of Dover. And at that time, a former selectman spoke openly and fairly strongly that there was a fear that having that water source would create an environment for more development.
So it seems to
So
me,
what's happened is sort of like the camel's nose under the tent syndrome. Every time there's been an issue with water source, whether it was the Dover Water Company or its successor, the Colonial Water Company, has stepped into the breach. And we are in essence creating more and more of a town-wide water company without even realizing it. And we haven't thought through what the implications of that are.
But I'd also think you could take exactly the other side of that argument and say, it's being done without you.
Oh, that's exactly the point. When you say without us, we cannot force the building of a water department, let me put it that way. We don't have a water source. We can't tell Colonial to give us the data on what their sources are, which is one of the issues. They, this year, were told by the DPU to enforce a water restrictive use, and they did not. That many customers were complaining about this, that Colonial made no attempt to enforce a water restrictive condition. So when you say they're doing it without us, it's rather, as the Board of Selectmen authorized them to expand their piping system, yes, they are encompassing more and more of the town. The question really could be raised is, A, are they giving good service? I'm not saying they are or they're not, but it's a question. Are they capable of continuing to expand? What is their capacity? And given that, what are the implications to well users such as those along Walpole Street who are not participants? There's a whole range of questions that need to be reviewed, and the baseline is certainly part of it. We don't have an integrated set of data that tell us how deep wells were versus how deep they are today.
Right.
We're attempting to do that. We're also attempting to establish what is the actual ability of the town to manage its water resource.
I think these are all very important questions, and I don't mean to jump in again, but I think that what I would like to propose, building on the charge from the Board of Selectmen back in the spring of 2015, I would like to suggest that I believe you have a number of names who have already stepped forward, are very eager to serve with you on the Water Study Committee.
To one extent or another.
Okay, to one extent or another. And what I would like to request is that you give us an update on a monthly basis.
Certainly.
We'd love to just put you on maybe, you know, the first meeting of each month to have you come in and give us the update of where you are, what has happened in the course of the last month. Because I think there's a sense, at least that I have, that, and I don't mean to speak for both of you, but that
But you won't.
but that I would like for us to partner with you, not get in the way of what you're doing, because I certainly understand that you have some wonderful ideas, and this baseline and the original charge is key. But then as far as where this goes next, as long as you keep bringing it back to us, we would like to be in a position to either say, yes, let's run with that, or let's hold off on that and let's go down some other path right now. I do think quality and quantity for the future is absolutely key for this town.
There's no question that if the town were to address the existing distribution systems or a future distribution systems, that authority is in the Board of Selectmen.
But I think, you know, we have to, all the evidence we have, or much of the evidence we have is anecdotal. And I think what we really need to do is begin to document.
Right.
And that's the charge. We would, you know, we should have a central repository for all of these documents. We should have an index of what's there, and we should try it's imperative that we establish a baseline, because we need to know what is the water level today, so that when and if a developer comes in or a big project wants to come into Dover, we have data that we can work with to really calculate what the impact may or may not be.
I've also circulated to you the decision of the SJC in upholding the appellate court, which overturned the Superior Court on a decision in a town comparable to ours, Stowe, where the SJC ruled that concerns about water quality and quantity in the right circumstance trump a development.
You know, and again, I can't say it enough, you know, we need to make, this can no longer be anecdotal. It's too important. So we really need to begin to document it. And once it's documented and we have a baseline, then we can begin to think about, well, what are the next steps? And prioritize them so we can address them one at a time.
Some of you have already seen the repository.
Right.
And I would certainly like to talk with you, David, and with Bill Clark as to whether or not the town has comparable capacity to do what I've been doing in terms of document control and document publishing. I'm not sure if it's possible in the current construct, but we certainly would need, in order to move forward reasonably quickly, the ability to have several notebook computers that have been sitting, waiting to be used, purchased and waiting to be used by the Board of Health, if we could begin to find a way to integrate those. And I understand the firewall question is a very relevant question.
So I
And I'm
suggest,
certainly willing to contribute to your IT supplies. Just happen to have, what, you've never seen non-volatile memory?
So I think that this is the exciting moment. I mean, really, that we have gotten to the point where we would like to pass the charge and be sure that you report back to us on a monthly basis so that we can be kept abreast of
I
how
think
it
there's going to be complete integration,
Okay.
because otherwise there'll be questions as to
Right.
who's doing what, and what
Correct.
authority.
Absolutely.
And, you know, if we could establish some sort of a written report as well that we could post onto the website, because there are many citizens in Dover that are also
It'll
concerned
be a
about.
slow startup because we have to, one of the tasks is getting some interns in. There's been a positive statement about that, but it's going to have to wait until after the holidays.
Sure, of course, right.
You know, so we appreciate you
Right.
taking the lead and look forward to your monthly reports. And we won't expect a lot of progress month one, but after that.
Right. Well, that's great. Thank you very much. Thank you.
It's expected, Mr. Clark. You've set a very high bar for yourself.
And may I pass this along? Have you seen the